Hello, and thank you for tuning in to my review of The World According to Garp by John Irving. I just finished reading this today. So far, yes, I've only finished reading a few books for the year 2014, but this has been the longest book I have read so far this year. Basically, The World According to Garp is about an author named T.S. Garp. And yes, his name is only initials, T and S, with his last name being Garp. The book revolves around a few characters that are his close family and a few, other people that are, acquaintances and whatnot. But mainly the story starts out where his mother, named Jenny Fields, who later becomes a feminist leader in the movement, and she is from a wealthy New England family, and she chooses to pursue a career in nursing. She's not your typical woman. She does not want to be married and have, she wants to just do her own thing, and she just wants to live independently. So she decides to get impregnated by unusual circumstances. One of the things I thought about this book, I did rate it 4 stars on Goodreads.com, and I have to admit, when people say that you'll laugh, you'll cry, that is definitely this book. There were some funny moments, but there were also very tragic moments where I'll admit I cried like a baby. They were just so sad. A lot of the times the main character, T.S. Garp, a lot of people look up to him and they talk about him like he's a hero, but more or less I ended up feeling sorry for this guy more than anything. And I want to explain why that is. It seems like he was not really ever in control of his life, from his conception when his mother chose a random dying soldier to impregnate her, to, the fact that he's not allowed to pick his coursework when he's in school. His mother goes and she tries out all the classes and recommends to him which classes he should take based on her choices and preferences. And also his wife pretty much is chosen for him because he happens to come across her from meeting her from a sport that his mother had picked for him. So everything is just kind of everybody just kind of controls his life, from his editor who edits his books and sells his books and the publicity of them and everything. And the guy never goes to college. He decides to go away with his mother to Europe and live life in Vienna for a little bit. So I thought it was kind of, I just really felt like he really had no control of his life, so that's why I kind of felt sorry for him. The author tends to, because the book is about an author, he puts in the stories that Garp had written, or he gives us summaries of some of those stories. One of them is a story that he wrote when he was in Austria about his experiences in Austria, and that story is later used later on in the book. These writing examples that are supposed to be of Garp's written work weren't really all that great. I'll have to admit I kind of flew through them a little bit and sped read through them because they weren't really interesting. They tend to focus on death, and there's a lot of use of death, in this book, which brings me to the very end of the book. After Garp is long gone, and they call it the epilogue, and they give it as a tribute to the author of T.S. Garp, they basically just tell you how everybody who was in his life, how they ended up dying, and what they accomplished with their lives and whatnot. I thought that was very unnecessary for the book. It wasn't really something that needed to be in the book. But I did enjoy the book. I will say that much. Other things, sometimes I really liked the character of Garp. Sometimes I really didn't like him, considering the fact he cheated on his wife a few times. I didn't like the relationship he had with his wife because they were like basically swinging and having relationships with other people, and they didn't seem to bat an eye about this. Like, they found nothing wrong with it. So it is a little bizarre, and I know it was written in the late 70s, and this also was turned into a 1982 film starring Robin Williams and Glenn Close and Jonathan Lithgow. So one of the examples of the use of tragedy in the world according to Garp is there's a little girl named Ellen James who, when she was 11, got raped by a mob of rapists, and they cut her tongue out so that she would not be able to, speak of what had happened to her and verbally accuse her attackers. So I do not know that this is a real event that had really happened. I think it's just something that the author had made up to make the story more interesting. Well, there is a group of women, they're called the Ellen Jamesians, and they cut off their tongues as a way of showing their support for this one person. So, and then these people, they tend to be very radical and extreme feminists, and Garp tends to have disagreements with them. His mother feels the same way as Garp about these people, that they're very radical and a little crazy, but at the same time, she does not let them know her opinions about this. She just, takes it in stride and just, lets them be. It is what it is. That is my brief review of Garp. I wanted to read you, the last sentence for this book because I thought it was kind of significant of it. But, in the world according to her father, Jenny Garp knew we must have energy. Her famous grandmother, Jenny Fields, once thought of us as externals, vital organs, absentees, and goners. But in the world according to Garp, we are all terminal cases. So that goes back to the whole death symbology in this book. The whole goners and terminal cases and all that, you have to go back to the very start of the book because Jenny Fields she describes her patients in categories and not as people, which I thought was kind of weird. But yeah, it was a very enjoyable book. I rated it 4 stars, and it's a mature read. So if you feel like reading something that's kind of soap opera-ish, like drama type book, feel free to check it out. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, later guys.